My iMac has stopped working.
No.
Yeah, I think I know the disk is failing, and I have to find out a way to replace it. It's really bad.
Let me guess, it's got a virus.
No, it doesn't. It's not that. I think that after it's been there it's 5 years old, and the disk has been on for 5 years, and it's starting to fail, and it's pretty obvious. And I need to get a SSD or whatever it is and put it in there. It turns out it's a big deal. It's cheap, but we can find something to do it. Okay. Anytime you're ready.
I think we're going. I think we're live. I think we're live. It says we're live.
Good.
So, you never know with this thing, but they change it so often. Anyway, today is the 1st of April.
April Fool!
That's right. But what a horrible time to have April Fool's Day, you know?
Why?
Well, just because everybody's in a crappy mood.
No, I'm in a great mood, I'll tell you that.
Oh, well, good. Well, good. Well, hey, everybody, this is the live Jimmy Doane Show. You're watching us live right here on Facebook. I'll post a timestamp copy of this show up on YouTube.
Well, unless you're listening to it later.
Right. Well, in that case,
it's not live.
Yeah.
If it's sometime after 4 o'clock on Wednesday,
that's right.
It'll be not live.
That's right. So, but if you're between 4 and 5 and you're on Facebook right now, then it's live!
That's right, on Sundays as well. That's right, on Sunday.
That's right, we're back. So, glad you could join us. I'm here in the studio. We are in the home studio to begin with, here in newly locked down Florida.
Boy, isn't that the truth, yeah.
Uh-huh.
All right, well, I will tell you one thing, that little local news.
Okay.
You'd be happy to know. Today I had my first home delivery
Of
toilet paper.
Oh, okay.
It turns out that for $40 for 3 months, I get home delivery every day.
What?
Yeah. It's called the Gainesville Sun. It's the newspaper. But the deal was that as of yesterday and the day before, for 2 days only. Now the Sun normally is about $40 a week or something. But if you called them up yesterday, and I called them up right at
it's so
9
useful
o'clock
for so many different things.
Oh no! Are you kidding? This is great. So anyway, I called them up yesterday. The last day of this offer, the offer was for 2 days, and for roughly $39.50, you could get home delivery for 3 months.
Wow. And you can use that. The ink on the paper actually does a good job of preventing streaks when you clean windows.
Well, it's not only that. The little minor problem you've got
What?
is it turns your butt black.
Oh, okay.
And that's what happens when the ink comes off the paper and you use it as toilet paper. But again, it may happen. But the beauty is, it costs me it's $3 a week. Okay, for this. Now, and in fact, I get a little piece of news here and there, but I thought it was kind of interesting that they were so kind as to. So today was the first day it delivered on my front porch.
You're the first new subscriber in
I'm telling you, what was interesting was
they're like, oh my God!
Yeah. Well, I called them up. They said
they go into the subscription office. There's a skeleton next to the phone there. Where the last guy just died.
Interesting you should say that. They did not know about this offer.
Oh, they didn't? Huh?
No. They said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "I've got it right here in my hand."
Right.
What happened was the day before.
Your new owners in China have.
I guess. I don't know. All I'm telling you is that somehow included in a advertising version of the paper that they distribute like once a month to people was this special deal. And so I was going to take advantage of it. I called them and said, who? What? No. No. So they put me on hold. Let me put it this way. They disconnected me 3 times before I finally got through.
Yeah, they're like, hang up on that guy.
That's right. So anyway, I finally got through, and I'm telling you right now, this is great. This is as good as the Sears catalog in the outhouse. I mean, seriously, this is great stuff. So I was happy to know that.
So what news did they bring us today? Did you actually get a thing today?
I did get one this morning.
Okay.
In fact, I did get some news. I didn't bring it all here. I've got some other news that I will
mention anything about a virus going on or
Actually, yes, and of course it's all bad news. Well, let me tell you, there's some bad news here in several areas about the social distancing. Apparently, this is the new phrase: is how far away you're supposed to stay. There have been new reports that say it's anywhere from
See, we're way apart here.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
But it's supposed to be 2 meters. Yeah, which is roughly 6 feet.
Okay.
Okay, for those of us in the U.S. of A. New reports have said it should be 26 feet, and other people say it should be 3 feet. And other ones say don't breathe on any, whatever, who knows what. New Yorkers who break social distancing rules and continue to congregate face fines of up to $500 as the city prepares to bring out its 776 virus dead with dozens of makeshift more set up. Now, what I want to do...
Bring out your dead.
No, you... Of course. Bring out your dead. I'm not dead. No, this is... what I wanted to do, and I should have done it, was to get that clip from the Monty Python.
Oh, I got it. I
Do you?
Hold that up, sure.
Okay, bring out your dead. 766 virus dead. Bring out your dead.
I think it's a little too early for the coronavirus joke shit. We still don't know. It still could get bad.
I know it. Yeah, it could. It could. But my thinking is that no matter how bad it gets, it's not going to be that bad. Personally, that's my thinking. Okay, we'll see.
We'll get to
New
that
Yorkers
later.
who break social distancing rules continue to congregate face fines of up to $500, says the mayor.
Yeah,
de
well, that's
Blasio.
interesting. And of course, Florida just issued its stay-at-home order.
Did they?
In the last hour? Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So my question is,
Stay at home?
Yeah. Well, except unless for emergency things like groceries.
Okay, necessities.
Like groceries.
Groceries. Now, of course, it turns out that various grocery stores now have put tape on in front of the grocery store 6 feet apart.
Yeah, little squares. Saw that.
Well, whatever, yeah.
Yeah, whatever, marks. Sure, everybody learns to hit their mark now. Well, look, everybody's still taking precautions. We've been saying this the whole time. Jury's still out on contagiousness, lethality. There's still such a range of a multiple of 10. There's an order of magnitude in the potential outcome.
Absolutely, yeah.
And the contagiousness is still a little bit freaky deaky because there's places where apparently it's not going anywhere, and then all of a sudden the U.S. I updated our slideshow here, and when you look at the total numbers of cases, I mean, it just keeps going up everywhere, and maybe it's just because of the testing. Easily could just be, now we're just finding out. Everybody's had this stuff. I've seen reports and people say, hey, we've had it since November. It's been cruising around. So,
and of course, the other thing is how much of it is serious.
Well, that's the whole point. Is if it's look, all the things continue to say if you're over 60 years old, it's bad, and it could be easily an order of magnitude worse than the flu, which is bad. And so we obviously don't want old people to get it. So everybody needs to...
Excuse me.
What? And we're protecting you for your own good.
Yeah,
get in the dang hole.
For my own good, right. I love this. Okay. Well, I just, of course, one of the things they're talking about is how many people have had a 5% of it and recovered.
Right.
And you didn't know about that.
Well, they're getting to that. And of course, that'll be a good level once we get to that point, because then presumably we'll have the test for the antibodies, which is also one of the treatments that they have for the spread of it if certain people are resistant. And of course, we're still learning things about whether it's blood type dependent and things like that. So there's still information coming in, I would think, in droves. We still haven't heard about. I heard one little thing about Prince Charles, said he's doing okay or something.
I heard that.
But I didn't hear anything more about Tom Hanks in the last few days, or Boris Johnson, or the other people who we know have it. Now Chris Cuomo's got it, so maybe he's gonna.
No, I know.
I know you're just kidding.
I'm not doing
I know
that.
you're just kidding. But we're gonna see. Obviously, I would think if he keeps reporting, we'll know more. We'll have more very verifiable information about.
It's still anecdotal.
It is. That's true. But at least it would be nice to have a bunch of good anecdotes with people who recovered by taking the little combination of the hydrochloroquine or whatever and the Z-Packs.
Right.
So we're still kind of holding our breath for that. And then, of course, there's the whole mask issue still out there. People now they're talking about, well, maybe recommend if everybody use them if you got them. And of course, everybody in medical is saying, well, duh. you know, the whole concept was maybe you don't have them, but there are plenty of them. There's going to be billions of them. We're going to be awash with them in no time. And so just if they let the market sort of work, but
the market will work. It's fun. It's fun because having had a double lung transplant almost 7 years ago, I still have a bucket of, I don't know.
Oh, is that right?
I still got masks. I probably have 100 in my bathroom, just in case.
Don't say that.
Don't say that. Yeah, people come over. Okay, your mask or your life.
Well, people are freaking out. I saw Chris Hayes and the lefties, the super lefties are freaking out about why there's not more top-down control over these masks.
Right.
They're saying, boy, these problems could all be solved in a minute with some good federal authority. And it's like, well, don't you realize why it's not getting solved that way? It's because there's too few people in those positions to make all the decisions necessary.
Well, not only that, they're not letting the market do things.
That's what I'm saying.
The simple fact is, if you charge $5 per mask, we'd be buried in masks.
Buried in masks. And of course, you don't need the same number going to New York as go to Idaho.
Right.
And so you have to let
don't poop on Idaho. For God's sake, we're here
Forget
from
it.
Idaho.
You get one mask, Idaho.
That's right.
You get to share.
That's right.
No, sorry,
share
cousins,
the mask.
my wonderful cousins out there.
Yeah. No.
But the point is that the price is, these people are all up in arms because, oh my God, I saw a tweet today. Hospitals are having to negotiate themselves to buy masks. They're having to navigate the waters of gougers and scammers by themselves, as opposed to waiting for the top-down order from the president.
I didn't see that.
Well, the concept is, look, that's great. That's what you want. You want the individual people making the decisions.
All these hospitals have buyers,
right?
And they're supposed to be calling up and
they should be on the horn.
There's something called the internet, right, whatever, and you get on there and you see $5, $4, $3, $100, $400, whatever it is, and you call it, and of course,
exactly.
I've seen a couple of them where they say you can have it for a nickel, but it'll be it's a
$50.
September delivery.
Right. Well, or deliveries a $9 million.
You're right. Whatever. Yeah.
But whatever it is, the individual people can make those decisions faster.
That's the thing. The market. What I saw this the other day. Even I saw a libertarian type of person say that as a community we should do this, that, or the other. No. It's not as a community. It's as an individual you make these decisions.
That's right.
And that it all works out. I look at it kind of like an ant colony. The ants, as individual, they operate individually. They're cutting the little leaf and they're carrying it back. But it all works out.
Yes. Well, that is the invisible hand of the market. And it solves all the problems. And price is one of the mechanisms which gives the information.
It is the major information distribution is price.
It tells you who
all
needs
the way
the
down the line.
supplies.
I mean, how much am I going to pay for the wheat? How much am I going to pay for the seed for the wheat? How much am I going to pay the trucker? Have the gasoline? Blah blah blah. And on. Speaking of gasoline, by the way, I saw that here. I'm going to talk about this in just a second. This is a little side thing.
Sure.
Gasoline in where was it?
I saw one sign that had a dollar handle on it, dollar something.
Yeah, no, it was down the road here. It was $1.72, but a gallon. But what was interesting was, here's the. I'm sorry for this little digression. I'm going to come back. I'll be back.
We do economics.
This is a daily crude oil price bulletin for 30th of March.
Okay.
Was that 2 days ago? March has 31 days, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, 2 days ago. It turns out that in the Wyoming asphalt sour. This is the price per barrel was minus 47 cents.
What?
Yeah. Well, I was looking at Colorado, north central Colorado, it's $9 per barrel. In western Colorado, it's $10. In North Dakota, it's 9 and change. In eastern Wyoming, it's 9 and change. But in Wyoming asphalt, there are places where oil is selling for it is negative money, whereas they will pay you
To come take the oil.
To come take the oil, that's right.
Yeah, well, I heard they were running out of places to put it.
And that's the thing. That's the major thing. Then that's what this is all about. They literally have this is as of 7 a.m., the effective date indicated, so forth, subject to revisions. What they found is that the storage places are packed full, and they literally are, they will, how can I put this? If you want them to take, they're going to insist that you pay them to take their oil. I mean, this, here you are.
Pay you mean?
I mean,
yeah.
What I'm saying is here you just got 100 barrels of oil, and it's going to cost you 50 cents a barrel to get it towed away.
Right.
That's just unbelievable.
Well, look, the oil market is in this strange flux, obviously.
No, it totally is. It totally is.
I heard that the West Indies trade was also down around $12. A lot of, well, that's interesting. I mean, if you look online, of course, it says $20 a barrel on the
still so
ticker tape or whatever.
Right. Well, not only that, they had, the other thing, just as is that the Arabs apparently have decided not to go with the rest of them. They're having this fight with Russia, and they said, we're going to pump all we can.
Right. Well, from what I recall, the last time I checked, the Arabs were pulling it out at about 13 cents a barrel.
Right.
So if it goes below, I mean, if we're talking about 10 and 9 and such, then
even they're going to lose. Well, of course, there's always transportation. So, but
yeah.
The point being that $60 a barrel, $100 a barrel, long gone for a while.
150.
150 it was for a while. I remember years ago traveling across country, it was $4.50 a gallon.
Yeah.
And now $4.50.
Well, we knew the reserves had opened up, and of course Brazil is still sitting on their supply because they can't manage to get it out of the ground.
Well, same thing with Venezuela. They can't.
Oh, that's what I meant, Venezuela. So yeah, well, that's good news on some fronts. Oil, the value of oil is sometimes a proxy for economic growth, and
right. There's no question.
When it drops
it's energy.
It's
energy.
Well, it takes what it is it takes a bunch of oil for all the construction trucks to roll up there with all the materials. And so when you're building stuff like China was doing the empty cities that are now over there, the price of oil was all jacked up because they were using a bunch of trucks to get all the stuff in there to build everything, and so it was just.
Well, oil is part of the supply chain. And when that drops like this, can you imagine what it costs for a container ship, for instance, these days, to fill up with oil, to come over here with all the cars and everything? See, it's like nothing. I don't mean nothing, but I mean it's way cheaper.
Way cheaper. Well, that's nice. At least one thing.
At least one thing. That's right. Good news and bad news.
Right.
Okay, moving on. I'm going to go back now.
Do it.
Singapore has now decided to jail people for 6 months. For people standing too close to strangers. Well, this is Singapore. Now,
they don't kid around with something.
No, they don't. Singapore, I don't know if you remember this, but it was not that many years ago, there was this American kid over there who scraped a car.
Yeah.
And he was for like 100 lashes.
Yeah.
And it was a big hoorah because
because it was our guy. They do that.
Right, because it was our guy, right. And they wanted to send our ambassador over there to stand in the way or whatever.
It was
Thou shalt not do.
Right.
But I
sent Bart Simpson to get booted.
Anyway, the measure obviously designed to target groups of people who congregate or people who visit their friends and relatives. The resentment of being forced to live under quarantine lockdowns for weeks and possibly months builds. Authorities across the world are undoubtedly going to face a growing backlash. Well, you think? I mean, you got
Well, and this is interesting. So I've called the other day. Scott Adams posted a thing and said, "Doesn't it feel a little bit too quiet today?" And I agree. And I had thought of it the same day for no apparent reason, thinking the same thing. Exactly. Well, it's like the calm before the storm. There's something coming. And what I predicted was somebody was going to break with the quarantine. Somebody's going to break ranks. So apparently, Hobby Lobby.
Yes. Hobby Lobby
has come out and opened stores. And
you saw what happened.
Well, they're getting shamed and...
No, not shamed.
What?
They sent the sheriff over there.
Well, at least to a couple locations.
Couple of locations.
Yeah.
To close them down.
Right.
I mean, can you imagine the sheriff show? Here's the deal. You've got I don't know, but maybe some people have done their 6 foot distance or whatever, so that maybe there's only 100 people in Hobby Lobby. I don't know. Our Hobby Lobby here would easily hold 100, maybe 200 people that all spaced apart.
Yeah.
So the sheriff shows up, with guns and everything, and says, "You all need to clear out." At what point do the people say, "No,
right,
I'm going to shop"?
Right. Well, interesting. I'm with you. This is.
I mean, seriously, this is where does the dam break?
Right. And of course, Hobby Lobby says, "Well, look, we're essential."
Yeah,
right.
And people are saying, "Well, you don't sell bread, you don't sell toilet paper."
Well, no, but and then you have somebody like Mike Rowe came out, Dirty Jobs, Mike Rowe guy.
Yeah.
Came out and said there are no unessential jobs.
Right.
He's like, the whole thing is a patchwork. It's a quilt. It's a net. You can't just take out big chunks of it because it'll bunch up in weird ways, and
it's certainly essential to the people working there.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, I'm not getting paid. Excuse me.
Well, exactly. And you talk about I think about hospitality workers, especially in this state.
Yeah.
And they just got ordered. Everybody just got ordered to stay home.
And they closed up Disney for God's sake. And when they, can you when you realize it? I mean, last time I went down to Disney, which has been a little while because it's expensive. But I mean, family of four, $1,200.
Well, yeah, well, it's over $200 now, and that's going to go on our list. We're making a list of 10 items that we're going to track through the inflation here.
Okay, good.
I've got it, so I'll show you that.
Well,
later.
what I thought was interesting, last time I went down there, at least half the people there were from Brazil or South America.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, this was these people.
That's why when you see these pictures of people out on the Florida beaches, those aren't Floridians.
Right. No.
Those are people who are here on vacation, who spent their whole freaking
They're Canadians,
year.
for God's sake.
Exactly. Look, they've saved up for this vacation for a long time. They made it anyway. You don't think they're going out on the beach just because there's a coronavirus? Look, I'm sorry.
Well, not only that, they probably drove down here, which means they weren't on an airplane.
Right.
And because no airplane. But either way, half and half, who knows what.
They took a cruise
But
ship
I mean, they're Canadian, they, hey, Beauty Beach, eh? And they're out there, and of course the cop comes up and says, what? I'm cuffs, I'm taking the jail.
Well, that's the question. Do they start just handing out tickets in droves, and then if you do...
Ticket all you want.
Well, exactly. Like, I'll be back in Canada, that's right, tomorrow. And so I'm curious about this, too, because I know I had a whole bunch of my friends on Facebook. We're talking, when they saw the DeSantis close the state, they're like, finally, thank God, And I'm thinking, well, I mean... everybody I know is already staying home. So who are we talking about here? I mean, is this unruly kids? And if so, are they going to start arresting people? They're just letting people out right now. They're letting people out. So I mean, they can't be just arresting people.
They're talking about here, like locally. They want to let all the unoffender people or whatever the people
non-violent.
They want to let them out so the jail can hold. I'm saying, wait, stop the presses. So what you're going to do is you're going to put the virus people into jail together.
Well, no, that's actually why they're taking them out, is because they're too close. The quarters are too close, and everything's...
I'm saying let them all run.
Yeah, right. Give them the virus.
It's like the roaches all coming in. That's no problem.
Look, you gotta take what measures you can, but that doesn't mean it's counter. The move to put out the order out there. I mean, look, I can understand a strong suggestion from the government.
Right.
Please,
strong suggestion.
Please do this. We are telling you, stay home. And look, and not only that, but public shaming. Look, if you see somebody out there, if you don't like them out there, go ahead and yell at them if you want to. Okay, now they might come over and sock you.
Right.
But if you want to yell at them, you
can imagine there's somebody loading their car up with 20 rolls of toilet paper and says, "Hey," and the guy goes, "Pfft."
Well, how about like you saw those guys we were talking about last time, where the guys in India are whacking people with the stick?
Right, whacking people with a stick.
Like, can you see somebody whacking people with a stick as they're coming out of Publix or something?
Well, none of that. How about if somebody grabs the stick?
Well, that's what I'm saying. In America, that guy'd get about 2 whacks before somebody walked up with a bigger stick or a sword or something.
That's right. Speak softly and carry a big stick. In France, so anyway, it says the resentment is being forced to live under quarantine lockdown for weeks and possibly months bills, authorities across the world are undoubtedly going to face a growing backlash. Yeah, well, duh. In France, here's anecdotal. In France, a 35-year-old man was sent to prison after repeatedly violating lockdown measures after being found guilty of endangering the lives of others.
Right, and that's look. That's what people are going to talk about, and that's why they want this order. But what people have to remember is that normal people do not endanger the lives of others on purpose.
Right. This idea of, like, they had the one guy that coughed on a cop and said, "I've got the virus." Or, I'm sorry,
he didn't think he had it. If he did that, normal people don't do that.
No, they don't. You don't cough on a cop anyway.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't care who you are.
You know, so you don't have to have these types of things out there for 99.9% of people. All right. Yeah, sure. There's going to be a couple of jerks who go into the freaking thing and deliberately sneeze on the whatever it is. Okay, but they are super far few in between, and don't think that a stupid or stay-at-home order is going to stop them from doing that.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
They're the kind of people who don't give a shit about the stay-at-home order.
These are the people that are in civil disobedience territory.
Exactly.
They want to do it. They're making a point.
Exactly.
I understand.
It's literally the point. So, but that's not normal people. So you don't have to have these orders for normal people, which is all of us.
Well, here's another one. Another 19-year-old man was handed a 4-month suspended sentence for repeatedly flouting the measures 10 times in just a few days. Okay, well, 10 times flouting, this guy making a point, but it's a suspended sentence.
Well, where is that? Is that in America?
It doesn't matter, but no.
See,
I might have been France.
Yeah.
In Jordan, authorities initially banned everyone from going outside, even to buy food, leading to the arrest of 800 people. Now, again, in Jordan, this is probably anecdotal in a way.
Well, not only that, but I mean, for all we know, in Jordan, you go, the jail is like an open air pit or something. Right. I mean,
well, in Jordan's one of those places where they've got Syrian refugees.
Right,
a million of them in tents.
Yeah, millions of them.
That's right. So we're going to put you in a refugee camp.
Yeah. Well, and at some point later on, I'll tell you what. Keep going.
The next thing I got, speaking of foreign countries, Hungary, unfortunately, has decided to go completely clamp down.
Okay.
EU leaders aghast at Hungary's Orban, the guy who's their current dictator over there, giving sweeping emergency powers. Now, apparently, this is the same thing that happened when Hitler took over with.
Okay.
He was voted in. Everybody's voted in, and the Parliament or whatever gave him dictatorial powers. That's when he in 1933. Right. Same thing happened in Hungary, apparently. A coronavirus political bombshell went off in the heart of Europe, grabbing world headlines. Hungary's parliament voted to allow Prime Minister Viktor Orban sweeping emergency powers deemed necessary to fight the pandemic. The bill approved by the nationalist government gives him the right to rule by decree, without having to consult lawmakers or any other branches, easily passed the 2/3 majority. New emergency powers legislation is in effect as of Tuesday, yesterday, and he himself has the ability to decide whatever is the law. And what he said was, during Monday's vote, he says, when this emergency ends, we will give back all powers without exception. I'm sitting
You heard it here.
No, I heard it. I put that in bold letters. I'm telling you.
Okay, so I'm glad you brought that up, because that is a perfect analogy.
Okay.
I mean, we've got, first of all, so there's 206 countries these days around the globe.
Yeah.
And every one of them is going to have some kind of slightly different approach in terms of the level of freedom that they allow to operate. And obviously, you've got people on this end of the spectrum, dictatorial powers. We see this with some regularity through the decades. That when
you never let a problem go to waste or whatever.
Well, and a severe crisis oftentimes leads to severe dictatorial powers in order to deal with. This is the kind of thing. What were you going to say?
I was going to say the constitutions, no matter how they are suspended for all intents and purposes.
Well, and even, I mean, this is the kind of thing that Chakrabarty and Chris Hayes and those guys want to happen here. They want top-down, strict or immediate powers so that somebody can come in and control where the masks go and do all this stuff. And they don't realize that not only does that lead to just terrible results in so many ways in the beginning, because you limit the number of people making the decisions to this top-down guy. Like this guy in Hungary, if he screws up, guess what? The whole country suffers. If he makes a bad decision, if he says, you know what? No masks. Yeah. Go on out. Do whatever. Or the opposite. If he says something like, you know what, we're going to shut down and destroy the whole economy and don't worry about it. And he could take the country down horrible paths now because of these powers. And yet this is the kind of stuff that the socialists right now are calling for in terms of control.
Well, you only, again, those that don't read history are destined to relive it. You look at something like Napoleon. Where did he come from? You know, and he ended up with dictatorial power. You look at the guy over in the Philippines, Duarte or whatever it is. He's shoot on sight drug dealers.
Right.
I mean, what are you talking about?
What are you talking about, man?
So I mean, this is the guy, and everybody's cheering it.
Right, exactly. So I'm asking people to caution, to have a little bit of reserve when they start applauding these government efforts right now, because this is the first instinct is for somebody to be saved. You want to be saved, and I get that, and it'd be nice if somebody could just swoop in and save you. But when you give away the powers like this, as we heartily laughed, they don't come back.
No,
they don't give these powers back. And you know the stuff that they have just given you. The little tiny things that just slipped through. Well, first of all, I mean, you got to look at the scope of the bill that just passed. $2 trillion.
Oh my God,
Can you imagine the shenanigans?
Another one coming on, by the way.
Well, we'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
But even before we get to that, there was stuff like the access to safe vehicles rule.
What?
Yes.
What was that?
This is a 1975-page rule that just promulgated. The purpose of which, if you read the little introduction, is to provide access to safer vehicles to Americans.
Okay, what are safer vehicles?
Well, look, you know what's going on here. This is a swath of regulations that have just been handed down in the name of protecting you. And what they're going to do is they're going to force manufacturers across the board, if they want to sell the cars here in America, to comply with these rules. And it's everything from the size of windows and the shape of things. That's why American cars all kind of look the same these days. There's all these regulations about where the windows have to be and things like that, and the size.
Okay, so the safer vehicles are mostly cars.
Yes.
Okay, because I was just going to say here that that one thing I did bring up here was let's see, what is it here? No, I did see a thing here where the car sales have plummeted. I mean, nobody's buying cars anymore. I mean, they're talking about, we normally sell something like between 12 and 15 million cars in the United States, American cars, and it's going to be like 8 or 9 million or even fewer. Who wants to go to the lot these days?
Well, I've always marveled at people's ability to come up with enough money for a new car, but as you know,
well, of course they finance the crap
exactly.
Out of it. But what I'm thinking is the prices could drop rather dramatically. If you want to buy a car, I'm saying wait 3 months. 3 months.
Yeah, all 3 months. And yes, and they very well could. And I mean, look, I think the Generation Z is a lot less interested in car ownership because they have things like Uber.
Which one is Generation Z?
The latest one.
Okay.
The last one, whatever. The young kids, young people are less interested. The younger you are, the less interested you are, I believe, in owning your own vehicle. For us, it was like, man, that's your independence. Yeah, I mean, man.
My generation was the first generation to actually be able to own a car.
You can have a car.
Yeah, I mean, seriously.
It's like a piece of magic.
I mean, literally in the 50s, owning a car, like you say, everybody I knew, and the parents, of course, I won't say they were loaded with money, but A lot of my friends, their parents would let them have their old car when they went and got a new one.
Well, back then it was an engine and some wheels.
Right.
And of course now it's like a home.
Yeah.
Shrunk fit.
It was a home back then.
Yeah, well, I mean, of course.
Especially if you're on a date.
Yeah, exactly. It was at least a bedroom.
I just want to make sure the car has a back seat.
Right. So look, to rewind all this though, what you have here is a countervailing effort by the government to put regulations in place on all levels of activity right now. They've gotten so much through that in just that one bill. And look, $2 trillion, I hope that no serious financial people look at $2 trillion and imagine that that is a Band-Aid for a couple of months hiccup in the economy. That is full on, that is like a ridiculous amount of money. I mean, if they extrapolate it out, it could become like $6 trillion or $7 trillion.
They've already talked about that.
I know, but what's that?
They've already said this is a beginning.
Well,
Pelosi has come up and said, "Well, now we're working on the next $2 trillion."
Well, right.
Literally.
Well, all I'm suggesting is that is far more money than something like the coronavirus could be worth. It's what's happening now is they're getting in all kinds of pet projects, and it's a financial rescue at this point, as opposed to just a little repair job. That's what I'm saying.
No, it's interesting because one of the articles that I read here was that in the Senate it was 96-0.
Right.
And so even the super conservative Republicans, no more. They voted for it.
Yeah.
And they're on board, and they are now talking. The leaders in the Republican Party, fiscal responsibility, are saying, well, we're going to get our now.
There's no opposition to spending.
No, there's none. The dam has busted.
Exactly.
The water's coming in. It's just unbelievable. No.
And the only thing that's going to stop it next is the flood. The market forces are the only thing that's going to stop the spending at this point.
Fiscal conservatives embrace the rescue package. Republicans who have spent the past decade howling about the danger of ballooning out deficits embrace the coronavirus rescue package approved by Congress and signed by the president. In many cases, the conservatives who backed the $2 trillion bill, the largest economic relief, if you want to call it that, were the very same who raged against the nearly $800 billion in the 2008. They're the ones who said that you can't do this. But facing unprecedented threat of the global pandemic, of course, before it was the global economy that was going to tank in 2008, and a working under Republican president has largely brushed off concerns. The GOP was willing to overlook an unprecedented flood of taxpayer spending, leading budget hawk Senator Toomey of Pennsylvania, who insisted in 2009 that government cannot spend its way out of a recession this week, said, yes, you can. Yes, you can. I mean, this is 10 years ago, 11 years ago. He said you can't. No, well, yeah, yes, you can.
It just the size of it is.
Well, they're talking about doubling it already again.
I know. Yeah.
They are.
That's because this one went through without opposition.
Right, exactly.
The fight wasn't over whether to spend or not.
No.
It was just over who gets the money.
Who gets the money. And there were some people that apparently were left out.
Yeah, exactly. That's what happened.
That was the deal. Wait a minute.
I mean, the compromise was everybody gets everything. And that's what they passed. But now they're like, you know what?
Well, the cruise ships didn't get theirs.
There are some more people.
There's a bunch of people that are saying, wait a minute, we didn't get ours.
And of course, they'll give the Americans, they'll give the individual people another $1,200.
$1,200, yeah.
In government cheese.
And of course, government cheese. Good point. Speaking of which, let me just mention one little thing here, kind of an aside here.
Sure.
Abbott Labs unveils a COVID-19 game changer, quote unquote, portable test that can detect the virus in under 5 minutes.
Yes.
Now, one of the things that's been a problem has been this 5-day delay or whatever it is.
Yeah, you die in the meantime.
Yeah, and you're right, or you pass it around in the meantime.
Right, yeah.
Now, apparently, the private enterprise people, the cabinet, horrible, I know, have come up 1 week after the FDA granted.
I bet they wanted money for it.
Probably, and not only that, an exorbitant amount of money.
That's right.
Yeah, we're charging twice what it costs us.
That's right.
Ooh.
Meanwhile, they've been staying at 24 hours.
Granted emergency approval on a point of care test purported to produce results in under 45 minutes. The agency has granted emergency, this is the FDA, emergency use authorization to Abbott Labs so they can bring this to market. Now what's interesting is they would have brought it anyway to the market yesterday, the day before. If the FDA wasn't there, we'd have advertised. It would be on the front page of Time magazine as our advertising.
Exactly. It's like I was saying, the car things. Like, you want safer cars? The market will bring those if you want them. The manufacturers.
That's why we have to. That's why we have to mandate. What was interesting was they mandated. Then of course the mandates are always wrong. I know that when they mandated seat belts, for instance, in the 70s, it was a seat belt,
right?
And of course the first thing people did was to clip them and sit on them. Okay,
yeah.
Well that wasn't good enough, so they said, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to have a thing that if you're sitting there, the little buzzer and the seatbelt's not fastened or whatever, then the buzzer's going to go off or
right.
Then, so on and on and on. Now, of course, they finally, I will say this, the seatbelts, my car, for instance, dings forever.
Right.
I mean, forever. But I will say it is easy, and it does do the thing. It doesn't take you more than 8 or 10 seconds to fasten it. I got to give them credit for that. Now,
you remember that car that used to have the one when you closed the door, the thing that ran up the side?
Literally, it was right. It would come there. Well, not only that, that was one. Again, a lot of these they failed because of the mandates and everything. But I thought it was interesting that they finally. The bad news is.
Go ahead.
The bad news is. Have you noticed that bench seats have disappeared?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, when I was growing up, you put 3 people in the front seat, no problem.
Well, you were a reckless boomer.
Well, you in fact were one of the people.
Nuh-uh.
Yes, you were. I tried to kill you. I tried to kill you. I put you
in the pickup truck, kid.
No. When the truck, it was the car. And we would put you in. You would love to lay in where the back seat and there was like a little shelf. In the window there, and there's a little shelf, and you love to lay down and ride.
And of course, still small enough to get up.
You were still small enough. And of course, if we jammed on the brakes, you would fall on the seat, and maybe even fall on the floor in front of the back seat. But you're not dead.
Hard to believe.
No, I mean, seriously, today, can you imagine riding down? Can you imagine? I'm riding in my Mark 10 Jag with you or a kid in the back seat there, and the cop.
Yeah, they just run you off the road at that point.
And they had bench seats. I mean, there was 3 people. You kids were all in the front. You know,
Well, okay, so everything you're talking about now is are choices that have been excluded from consumers at this point.
No bench seats.
And at a price. You're going to have to pay for all those regulations, and you don't get the stuff that you want anymore. Despite the fact that you're an adult and you think you can make the decision for yourself, don't even try.
I remember when it was not that long ago, it was only a couple of years ago. Well, actually, maybe 9 years ago. I was babysitting for a friend of ours and her 2 kids. And I was using her car because it was already belted up. And so I put the kids and I drove them over to Toys R Us or whatever it was. And I wanted to take them over to the mall, which literally was maybe 100 feet away.
Yeah.
I had to drive out and then drive down to the mall. And I was panic-stricken that some parent or something was going to say, your kids are not in their protective seats.
Oh yeah, they'll remove your kids for that.
Well, none of that. When of course they weren't mine, so what do I care? Sorry, Joan, your kids are gone.
You can have them.
Yeah, you can have them, right. But what I did say about this...
I've been trying to ditch them all day.
That's it. But what did happen on that time was we went into the mall, and I turned them loose. So I was walking up and down. The mall is quite large. Walking up and down the mall, and we're doing window, and I'm keeping my eye on them, the whole deal.
And they got kidnapped.
And, well, no, they didn't get kidnapped. But I'll tell you, almost. So what happened was I went, and I decided I went all the way to the end of the mall, And I said, I'll buy him a cookie. Now, there was a place, I don't know, Famous Amos or something. You could buy these cookies that were like this big around.
The story's getting really long.
Okay. So I decided to buy him a cookie, and I looked away just for a second, and I said, keep an eye on your sister. And I looked away, I bought the cookie, and I looked back, and the little girl was gone. And it turned out that there was
that's the end of the story.
And there was a kiosk there, and I asked the boy, I said, where's your sister? She's right here. So I went around, and there's the sister. She's sitting there. She's like 4 or 5 maybe. And I said, well, come on, let's go. And I've got a cookie. Well, of course, there was this lady there with her child in a little push
Old
thingy.
man with a cookie.
Yes! She looked at me like I was the predator from hell. And no, you understand? I'm babysitting. And look, honey, tell him who I am. And she goes,
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
So
Thanks
anyway,
a lot, kid.
Thanks a lot, right. So anyway. All right. WTI tumbles 19. It's got that.
Yeah.
And the auto industry enters a total collapse because of the nationwide.
We did autos.
Okay, Corona. Okay, and the next thing I've got, let's see how we're doing here. We got plenty of time. The Corona cash grab. Pelosi, U.S. agencies they are now compiling a list for the second 2 trillion.
Yeah.
On Monday, House Speaker Pelosi unveiled Democratic demands for a phase 4 Corona stimulus, which would include additional funds for workers on the front lines fighting Corona and keep essential businesses, blah, 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 okay, whatever. Also focus on infrastructure. Of course, I've always wondered, here locally, we have an infrastructure which actually is not as bad as third world country, but it's the second world. We have potholes, we have all kinds of problems here. And to fix the roads in this town, major surgery. But that's final way down on the list. It's the one thing that we can't do as citizens, but they'll put a park together, they'll spruce up the median strips on the roads or something, but they're not going to fix the damn roads. But now they decided the second 2 trillion is going to focus on infrastructure. So she's not going to push the bill through and doesn't expect package to be ready before Easter. So not going to push it through, but I'll tell you, by Easter, 2 weeks.
Jesus, okay. Man, so much for the.
So the only last thing I've got here is the COVID-19 outbreak a Trojan horse to increase smartphone surveillance? All of the world, starting with China, the suspected origin of the COVID-19 outbreak, governments are increasing surveillance of its citizens using their smartphones. Now, as you well know, they can go back and find out where you've been, but apparently in real time, they can find out where you are.
Sure, like those things like Waze when you.
Yeah, exactly, like Waze, right?
And they should be doing that. We should all volunteer that stuff. They should have an app where it says check in now with your as to like, especially if you get sick. Well, of course, then you should be locked down.
Right.
But I mean, and of course now everybody's locked down anyway. But that's the kind of thing that I think would be useful. And I mean, I would volunteer my position up.
Would you?
Yeah, sure. Why not? So they could track to see, like, if a bunch of people suddenly came down with the virus, like you say, you trace it back. You run everybody's path backwards.
You try and get to number 0.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever.
And that would be useful. And I think everybody should participate in that to some extent. You wouldn't need everybody either. You just need a large sample size. All right, that's all you got?
Pretty much.
That's all you got? Okay. Yeah. First of all, I have a plan for the U.S. For what they should do in order to get out of this monetary crisis that we're going to be entering in the next decade.
Okay.
So as we can see right now, they're going to destroy, apparently, the value of the dollar big time. And so at some point, you're going to have to return, from my perspective, to some kind of sound money. We've been saying this for a lot, and
really have.
And at some point, they're going to have to do it. Here's the way you could do it. What you would do, if I were the federal government, is I would buy up one of the minor cryptocurrencies that's in use right now, like Litecoin or something, with a market cap of a few $1 billion. You just get one that's been out there, that's proven technology that people can use and trade and do all the stuff with, and through their little crypto wallets. You get Ethereum or something like that. You buy one, right? And then you attach it to gold. You say, this is our dollar at this point, and it's limited in number. It's a crypto thing. It's encrypted, obviously, and from now on, it's each Ethereum dollar is going to be worth X amount of gold. You just attach it. That, and of course you get the reserves first. You buy up as much of the reserves as you can.
When you open up Fort Knox and, well, there's nothing here.
Well, hopefully you stockpile the shit out of Fort Knox with that stuff, and then you do it. And I think there would be a tremendous rush into that currency.
Well, it should mean that your Ethereum dollar would skyrocket in value.
Right. Yes.
I mean, because if there's only 100 tons of gold for all the Ethereum and everything's going to be paid in Ethereum things, suddenly they're going to be worth,
$1,000
each one's going to be worth 1,000. Well, no, it's going to be worth 1,000 ounces.
Yes.
Of gold or whatever.
Well, no. What you do is you'd attach the gold ounce to the thing. You would say each Ethereum. You just divide it up. You'd say, look, you say we got 100 tons of gold in our thing here. We divide that up by there's 20 million.
Touching my face.
there's 100 million Ethereum coins, and therefore each one is worth this amount of gold.
Okay.
But like I said, you'd buy up all the Ethereum coins first, all the gold first, and all the coins first, as much as possible. You'd buy a bunch of them, and you're right, the price would skyrocket. If somebody still owned a few of them, they would be worth a ton at that point. But why wouldn't
you just issue gold coins?
Well, you do that too. I mean, you could easily do that too. But what I'm saying is, right now, you want to transfer over to an electronics. You have to have a medium of exchange. A paper dollar is only in existence because it's easy to transfer around.
Okay.
Well, it's even easier these days to use cryptocurrency.
Well, or a credit card.
Well, exactly.
Which same kind of thing.
Exactly. And so you want to have a new thing like that, okay? But you don't want to just create a new one, because then you're rolling it out like the freaking website for healthcare or something all at once. So you just buy up one that's already in use.
Okay, you buy up the Ethereums, which right now has a market cap of, I don't know, $2 billion.
Exactly.
Okay, and so you pony up the United States phony money,
right,
of $2 billion, and you own the Ethereum.
Yes.
And then you make a statement.
Yes. And you say, this is our new dollar, and it's attached to gold.
Okay.
And so get in on it while you can, basically.
It's like the beginning of the Bitcoins. You could have you could have gotten it for a nickel a piece.
Oh man, there would be a huge run.
That was literally a decade ago.
I know. We talked about it.
I bought some.
Well, yeah, and somebody gave us like 15 of them. At one
which
point.
They all went away.
Yeah, mostly. All right, so let's see. Anyway, that's my plan.
We're gonna have to work on that plan.
I'm telling you, it'll work.
I think you got too many things in there. I mean, you got dollars, gold, and Ethereum coins, and
that's all. That's all you need.
Yeah. Well, it used to be all you had was gold. That was it. End of story.
Well,
you had a piece of paper that said you can redeem this for gold.
And that's all it really is. That's all it really is. It's just saying, it's just a way of creating a new. It's not fiat; it's a representative currency, but it's transferable. That it's digital, and you just make it official. That's all.
All right.
So, all right. One other interesting thought is, so this whole crisis is going down now. What if there was some other issue that happened right now? For example, what if there was like a worldwide internet outage?
Well, what? Have you noticed what got shoved right off the front page?
What, climate change?
Yeah, climate change.
Yeah.
Nothing. Zero.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody. What's her name from Sweden? She's disappeared.
They gave her the virus.
Boo. I mean,
there you go.
I don't know what it, but I mean, we were wondering back then what was going to be. Now we got the next thing.
Right.
And of course, now the question is, what's going to wipe this off?
Right. Well, interesting. And the one thing I can think of is that whenever I see massive depressions like we may be on the verge of, and certainly even if the United States is not on the verge of it, they may see a massive depression in Europe or in China or someplace else. I mean, there could be a big one.
I don't know if you remember this, but it was 2 or 3 months ago. I opined that this might be the black swan.
No, I know. I played it. It's on the thing.
Literally January. I said, we're looking for a black swan. This could be it, said I.
It's true. Well, so the thing is, though, is that
let me tell you, it might not be, but it's brown. This is a brown swan at this point.
Well, right. But here's the thing that often follows depression: war.
Well, yeah.
Somebody whose resources have just been sniped, basically, decides to go get some resources, is usually how it happens. And I was trying to think of the current honeypots around the globe that might be right. Like, look, to me, for the last few decades, I've been thinking all the Western countries, at least, and maybe all the civilized countries, are too interdependent economically to wage war against each other. It would be too destructive. We have too much to gain through cooperation. Even China and the United States, a war would be devastating for both places.
Doesn't mean anything. They'd do it anyway.
Well, that's the
thing. What are you talking logic here?
No, but only as a motivating factor. Okay, so but like you said, it doesn't mean anything. They'll be happy to go to war anyway. All they got to do is somebody say, "Hey, they called me a name."
That's right.
And they're over there kicking some ass.
They do it all the time.
Well, but here's the thing.
I mean, they knocked down my building.
They knocked down my building.
They knocked down my building.
Exactly. Now, here's the thing. Now, there are at least a couple of honeypots that are out there that I can think of that are coming online. And one is the Arctic. As it gets warmer, whether you believe in anthropomorphic warming or not, the ice has been a little bit more.
They're going to have the Northwest Passage.
Exactly.
And
there's a lot of oil.
Literally, they've already made it. I think one ship already made it through with an icebreaker in front of it.
Yes.
Or did okay.
I think so. So my point is that that's an area that you could see a grab for real estate happening.
It's interesting because, as you know, it's not only Norway and the Russia, there's already, and Canada, I think maybe, but they've already parceled out part of it underneath there.
I suggest we buy Greenland. That's what I'm going to say.
We talked about that. That's right.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, what? What are you talking about?
No, I'm not kidding. I mean, I know we talked about it. I was.
I'm not kidding.
No, I know. Me neither. We should have. It was a great suggestion. It was President Trump's suggestion.
Here's the deal. You got Denmark, which is like this big.
Exactly.
You got Greenland, which is this big.
Exactly.
And we can relieve you of your problem. And we're going to pay you like big bucks.
Exactly. Billions.
Billions. I mean, we bought Alaska.
I know. So, okay, now here's the other place that I was thinking of that is rich in resources. And this is the kind of thing the reason Hitler came to power was he wanted Germany to have all the natural resources and be the preeminent country of the world. And that's why he wanted to take over Russia. And he's crazy. Okay, but Africa is just sitting out there with no real power structures in it.
Well, you say that, but China's taking it over.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. Is China has been moving into places like Kenya and some of the ports and such.
And of course, the beauty is what they're doing is they're saying, "Hey, tell you what we're going to do." No, I got to say that.
That's your Chinese accent?
No, wait.
What?
I'll tell her you will know. Wait, I don't know what my Chinese accent is, for God's sake. No, so we're going to build this railroad, and we're going to do this other stuff, but it's a mortgage. That is to say, we're going to loan you the money.
Right.
And if you don't pay us back, then we'll take it.
That's right. We'll foreclose.
Foreclose. That's exactly right.
Well, yeah, we haven't heard anything more about the second Panama Canal or whatever it was, the Nicaraguan Canal.
Not yet.
But I just throwing those things out there. I thought it was kind of interesting.
We're always ahead of the curve on this.
I know we are. Okay, let's see. Okay. And then as we go out here, I guess we got one more thing as we go out here. I'll start the music here. Did you see where now people are starting to question the lab?
The Labrador Retriever?
No. They've said, look, well, did you notice, first of all, a bunch of people, wait, hold on, it's a little too early for this. This is kind of a good subject. A bunch of people have come out and said that this virus was definitely not human engineers. It was a natural virus.
Oh, really? Okay.
And that's why it couldn't have come from the bioweapons lab in Wuhan. It had to come from the market there, right?
Okay.
Except some people are now saying, well, we've identified specifically which bat this comes from. It's this horseshoe bat. And apparently there are no horseshoe bat colonies in the region of Wuhan.
Okay.
However, there are horseshoe bats in the lab, and they're under research. So perhaps it's not an engineered virus so much as an isolated virus. In other words, it came from the lab and it made its way to the market. Because how else could... It wasn't somebody eating the bat.
Okay, it was just bite its head off like...
Right, no, it was like the doc from the lab or something got some on his hands and went down and like touched a few things or something like that, or something.
Now this is certainly no conspiracy theory or anything like that.
Oh, this is total conspiracy. Actually, this was on Tucker Carlson.
Was it what?
Yes.
What happened to Alex Jones? He's off the air. Then this is Alex Jones talk.
Well, look, it makes sense if you look. What we've been told over and over again is this was not an engineered virus. Well, who would engineer a virus? I mean, I know some people do, but what would be easier to do is you just take one of the ones that's already out there. I mean, you weaponize it, but you don't need to engineer it.
Well, this is Dustin Hoffman.
Well, that wasn't
an outbreak.
That just came out of that. Just was
no. They said they engineered the vaccine for it.
Well, right. Yes. Well, that's the vaccine, but I mean, we're not saying they don't have a vaccine or that they're hiding it or something.
It was 11:59. If you look in it was 11:59.
11 what?
On the bag in the Outbreak movie,
right?
The bag was, they went through this thing and found it was a bag, and that was what would cure the outbreak,
right?
Except for the fact that the outbreak had mutated,
right?
And it wouldn't have. That was the big deal that Dustin Hoffman. Yeah, come on, you had.
Yeah, no, I remember.
You have to see the movie.
I know. What I'm saying is
nobody watched.
I'm saying the virus itself, not.
Okay, yeah, no, they didn't. No, they got the virus. They said this would make a neat weapon.
Maybe. That's what I'm saying. Maybe.
Okay.
So anyway, also I watched a special about the 1918 flu.
Really?
Woo, man.
Was it on YouTube or what?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a 40-minute one on YouTube.
Oh wow.
You want to freak yourself out? Watch that thing.
Yeah, I know.
Because it would hit people between 20 and 40, take them down in 24 hours.
Yeah, no, really bad.
And
and when you realize there was no reason for it ever, and it was thank you Woodrow Wilson.
Well, because of the war.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And the deployments and everything. They didn't know what the heck they were doing.
No, of course not. The unintended consequences probably killed 20 million people. Can you thank you so much for that? And they want to do it again.
Yeah, well, who knows? Hey, thanks, Kevin, for these tracks. We appreciate it. Hey, this has been the Jimmy Doane Show. We'll be back on Sunday at 4 o'clock right here. Join us. Search around the web for Doane, Doane.
In the meantime, you can listen to us when you post it up there, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and leave us comments.
Yep. And, shoot, I need to check and see. Look at that. We got a listener. Hey, Kenny, how are you, sir? Privileges, not rights. Yeah, you're right about that. All right. Well, hope you're doing well. Staying safe out there, Wes. I'm Counselor Curtis. This is Jimmy Doane Show. Hey, how long before the Democrats try to impeach Trump over this?
Yeah, that's right.
See ya.